Hey gorgeous, welcome back to the makeup aisle. Today's video is going to be a tutorial on this Harley Quinn look that you see right here. This is the one that was used in the Suicide Squad movie. As you can see, I just used my regular hair. I didn't really lighten up my skin too much. I go through the reasons throughout the video why I chose not to, but this look literally just takes a few items per eye, red lipstick, and if you want to do it a little grungier, you can. If you want to do it a little more glam, you can. So it is a pretty easy tutorial because you're going to be messy with it at some times, but it's just something that I love the way it came together. Harley Quinn is one of those iconic characters that just never gets old, no matter what variation of her you decide to play. So without further ado, let's get into the tutorial. So I've already, per usual, have put foundation on my forehead. I've drawn in my eyebrows to help anchor my eyes while I'm doing the eye look. I'm going to start with that. And I have also primed my eyelids and tight-lined the top line of my eyes. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the right eye, and that's going to be the red. Left eye is going to be blue. So to start with the red, I'm going to start with the NYX Primal Colors in red. This look, I think, you know, people kind of bitch and moan sometimes because Harley Quinn, they think, is overdone. But I see it as her being such a popular character that people can't help but want to cosplay her. And there's so many variations of her. I mean, you've got Suicide Squad, you've got Arkham Asylum, you've got Batman the Animated Series. You've got just so many different ways that you can cosplay Harley Quinn, and I love seeing what people come up with, especially when it's not the norm or what you would think it would be. So I'm going to start with going into the Primal Colors in red, and what I'm going to do is I am going to pick up an e.l.f. brush, and this e.l.f. brush is a contour brush. I've actually used this before, and I like it because it's just kind of, my hair's kind of getting in the way there, sorry. It's very short and very stacked, so I want to make sure that I have a lot of control because this is really a very pigmented type of product. So I'm going to start by putting that all over the lid. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it controlled until we get towards the end, and then I'll start, you know, messing up and everything on the corners the way the eye look usually is. So let's go ahead and go in. So as you can see, I went up above the crease area. Again, my eyes are hooded, so I lose a lot of color once I'm looking at someone straight ahead. So I've just gone above a little bit, and like I said, I want to still keep it controlled and neat because even though this is a Harley Quinn look, some of it is still going to be a little glam. I am going to do a full face of makeup, so I don't want it to be too messy except for the corners of the eyes, and then I'm going to smudge the lipstick just a bit. Then I'm going to go into Sugarpill's Love, which is this gorgeous red color. Sugarpill is one of my favorite brands of eyeshadows out there. They are so very pigmented and have so many great colors. I'm going to pick that up with my Sigma E38, which is the diffused crease, and that's just a smaller fluffy brush. So what I'm doing here, because I'm actually going to put glitter all over my eyelid, I am going into the crease and then I'm going to start kind of pushing this up a bit. So once I have that red pretty thick into the crease, I'm just going to take a fluffy brush with no color on it, and then I'm going to start blending out the top. I'm going to go back in with the Sugarpill shadow that I used, the red, and I'm going to deepen that up some more. I'm not even tapping off the excess because I want it to be pretty vibrant, and I haven't done the rest of my face, so I really don't care at this point about fallout. But you're not getting a lot anyway. These shadows really don't have a lot. I'm going to go back in with that fluffy brush and buff out the edges. Then what I'm going to do is I am going to go into this Wet n Wild glitter that I have here. Usually they sell these around Halloween time. You can find them anywhere that Wet n Wild is sold. So what I'm going to do is I am going to grab a flat brush, and I'm going to be using my MAC 242. And then I'm just going to go ahead and pack that onto the lid. So I'm just going to pat that down, and it's very, very sticky. So just be warned. And you can use any glitter you have. If you have some sort of glitter or shimmer, that's going to be fine as well. So as you notice there, I'm losing some color because this glitter is pretty sticky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over the glitter with the colors that I have already used. The NYX Primal Colors, I'm going to start back with that, and then I'm going to go back into the Sugarpill color. And I'm going to go back in with that fluffy brush and then just blend that back out. And some of the glitter stayed there, but I'm going to see if I can put like a Duochrome or something over it just to make it sparkly, because I want to add a little oomph to it. And I actually like the way that ended up looking because it looks a little grungy, which is good because if you've seen the movie or have at least seen the look, it is very kind of dirty and grungy looking. So I'm glad that some of that kind of stayed that way. Just want to fill in some of the pockets there. And we won't start bringing down the sides, like dragging it down, until after I've done the rest of my face. So that side is done for now. We're going to go ahead and move on over to the blue. And what I'm going to do is I am going to start with one of my L'Oreal Infallibles, and that is in Midnight Blue. It looks like this. And I'm going to use the same MAC 242 brush just to kind of pat that onto the eyelid. And again, I brought it up above the crease, and like I said, really I was patting that L'Oreal Infallible down, and then after I would just kind of go a little back and forth, not too much to disrupt it because I'm going to blend it out anyway, but basically getting my placement right as to where I want that shadow. So once I have the Infallible down, I am going to go in with Sugarpill's Velocity, which is this gorgeous blue shade. And I'm actually going to go in with a darker blue, but I want this lighter blue on top to just kind of add a little pop, and so that you can see that there's more than just one blue. So I'm going to use another e.l.f. eye brush that's kind of like the one that I used earlier. It's kind of tightly packed and thin because I just want to pack that color over the Infallible and then blend out. So I don't know if you could see kind of the shift in color, how that's getting very bright there. And that's what I want. And again, I'm not worried about fallout because we are going to clean under the eye once we're done with the actual eye look up top. I'm then going to go into my Kat Von D Metal Matte palette, and I'm going to go into the shade Velour, which is this blue right here. And I'm going to pick up my Sigma E38 brush again, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start packing the shade on to add a little more depth and dimension, but then also start blending it out. Then I'm going to take my clean blending brush and I am going to blend that out. There's no color on this, I just want to kind of blow out the edges. So I'm just looking at both eyes to make sure that they are somewhat symmetrical. Again, the look doesn't have to be perfect because the look is not perfect. With this variation of Harley Quinn. Overall, I am really happy though the way it looks. It's very vibrant, very punchy. What I am going to do is I do want to add a little bit of something to the eyelids to kind of make it pop or shimmer. I'm not going to go back into these glitters because they are almost, they feel oily and very sticky. And as you noticed with the red, it started picking up the color that I had already placed down on my eye. So I'm going to go ahead and grab something else to just add a little sparkle to the eyelid. So I grabbed my Pat McGrath Astro White pigment. This is what it looks like. This came in the Dark Matter 006 kit, which I have. And I like this because it's not going to kind of get in the way of the colors. This is like a light glitter wash, but it is powdery, so it's not like the hard candy and Wet, well, actually I had a hard candy one, but the Wet n Wild that I had dipped into because it was just really oily. So I am just going to pat that on the lid so you get a little something, but you still see the color. So you've got a lot of glitter there. But again, I like it because it doesn't really get in the way of the colors that you have on your eyes. And you could use any glitter or shimmer that you have. Just make sure it's not like what I had used that was so oily that was just like taking the color off, because that's crazy. So what I am going to do is I'm just going to highlight the brow bone just to add a little something else on there. And I am going to pick up Bone in the Kat Von D palette just because it's a matte white. I don't want anything too shiny because I already have shine on the lid, and the look really is supposed to be more messy than glam, but I wanted to just add a little something. But I want to make sure, especially with my skin tone, that this looks pretty white, so I am going to go over it until I feel I have that effect. So for now, we are done with the top of the eyes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up underneath, because then we're going to finish off the face, finish off the bottom of the eyes, and also then mess up the sides of the eyes the way she has it in the movie. I've zoomed you out a bit just because I'm going to start working on the rest of my face. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my Makeup Forever Step 1 Skin Primer or Foundation Primer. It's my favorite because it is very mattifying and it gets sticky, which I love. And that just helps for the foundation to stick on even better. For corrector, I'm going to go in with my Urban Decay Naked Skin Color Correcting Fluid in Peach. I have talked about this a lot on my channel. It is one of my favorite color correctors, not only because it's very orange, but also because I love the applicator. Sometimes you don't want to dig in a pot, sometimes you don't want to use your fingers. So this is just quick and easy. If you're really a person who's just like completely against, you know, pot concealers or pot correctors, this is a really nice option. I'm going to grab a dry Real Technique sponge and just use the pointed end to basically press that into the skin. I don't want to necessarily move it around, but more press it into the skin. And it's not going to disappear completely, but that's okay, because the foundation will help to do that, as well as the concealer. For foundation today, I'm going to be using my Wet n Wild Photo Focus, which is one of my favorite foundations. And it's funny because when I was doing my forehead earlier, a lot of people have complained about this foundation that it smells like paint. I'm like, I haven't really noticed that. I noticed it today, but it still is one of my absolute favorite foundations. Really nice and soft on the skin, and just absolutely beautiful. It's $5.99 and people rave about this foundation as if it was like, you know, a $65 foundation. So obviously I am not doing any like white face paint. I know a lot of people will do that, but I just decided to work with what God gave me today and not change the face color or anything like that. I do have like white clown paint, but I wanted to just work with what I have, because if you are allergic to the white paint, if you're very, very dark and the white paint would just look, you know, crazy on your skin, if you don't want to wear the white paint, I think that that's okay. You know, the look itself with the eyeshadows and the lipstick and the way it's going to look, the pigtails, is enough, I think, to tell people who you are. So a lot of times when I see cosplay, you know, obviously the more accurate it is, the nicer, or not the nicer, but the better, I think, you know. But if you can't be completely accurate, that's okay. You can't, you know, you don't have to be pasty white in order to play Harley Quinn. If you have deep, dark, black skin and you want to play Harley Quinn, go for it. Because there are absolutely no rules in cosplay, and that should definitely be an arena or an area where there are no rules with skin tone, eye color, hair color, nothing. And they sell wigs that have, you know, like the half blue, half red. I haven't gotten one of those because sometimes those things can be really crappy. And just sometimes you look at them on the computer and you're like, I know that that is not going to work for me. So I went ahead and put on the foundation for concealer today. I am going to go in with my Tarte Shape Tape, which is one of my favorite concealers. This is a little light for me right now, but I wanted to really highlight underneath the eyes, but I will also be putting powder on my face, so it's going to kind of offset some of that paleness under the eyes. But just the coverage on this is really, really amazing. I'm going to go back in with my damp beauty blender, the pointed end, and I'm going to start pressing that into the skin and then moving that around just a bit and get it as close to the lash line as possible. Just want to make sure that that's blended well into the skin, especially because it's so much lighter than everything else that I've done, and you could see it on the camera. I can see it, how light it is under my eyes. So I guess that adds a little paleness to my skin. To set that, I am going to use my Anastasia banana powder, as I normally do. I know you guys are like, we know what she's gonna set her under eyes with. It's just my favorite powder to do that with. And then for the entire face, what I am going to do is I am going to grab my Maybelline SuperStay Better Skin Pressed Powder. This is one of my favorite powders to set my skin with. And this is actually a little darker, so I think it's going to work very nicely in kind of bringing everything together. I'm just using an e.l.f. fluffy brush. This is like with the clear handle. This came out I don't know, maybe almost a year ago, I think. So my foundation is set, so what we're going to do is we are going to do our winged liner. I am going to do that off camera because it does take some time. I'm still learning and practicing to get really good with it, so I'm going to do that off camera and then I'll be back. I did my winged liner, and now we're going to finish off the bottom of the eyes. And what I am going to do is I'm just going to basically go in with the same eyeshadows that I used on each eye. The only exception, I am not going to use the Infallible because this is kind of chunky and glittery, and if I put it on my lower lash line, I know it's going to get into my eye, and that's going to be a disaster. So we're just going to use the powder shadows that we used on the eye. So I'm going to start with the NYX Primal Colors, and that's the red, and I'm going to go in as usual with my Sigma Flat Definer E15, which is my favorite to use on the lower lash line. So we're just going to pick that up, and basically we're just going to go ahead and line the bottom lash line. I'm going to then go into the Sugarpill red, and like I said, I just want to keep on piling on the colors so that you get kind of different variations of the same shade. And that one, because it's very pigmented, I'm just going to tap onto the lower lash line. I'm then going to take my Morphe E36 brush, which is this really tiny little fluffy brush. I'm going to go back into the Sugarpill just a little bit. I'm going to tap off as much excess as I can get off, and then I'm going to go ahead and blend the bottom. Basically blow it out and make it very smoky. I'm going to bring this down a good ways. Then I'm going to grab a bigger, fluffier brush, and I'm going to start working on the side here because she has this pretty messy, so it kind of comes down here, and then you kind of do almost like if she had like tear streaks. So I'm going to go into the NYX color first, pick that up, and I'm just using a Smashbox tapered shadow brush, so anything like that. I just want to cover a nice surface area. So I'm going to go ahead and start that in the corner. And basically do it messy because that's what it's going to be anyway. And then I'm going to start kind of dragging it down just a bit. And then I'm going to go in with the Sugarpill red and really deepen that up. Then I'm just going to start kind of dragging it down lightly. And not with necessarily any rhyme or reason, but just kind of bringing it down to start getting that red on the face kind of streaky. I'm going to then grab the flat definer brush again, and I'm going to go back into the Sugarpill red, and then I'm going to use that to kind of define the lines a little bit, and then I'll smudge them out with the same brush. You can be kind of abstract with this. It doesn't have to be neat because it's just basically, like I said, it looks like tear streaks. So I'm liking the way that's looking. I'm going to actually leave it that way. And then we're going to go ahead and start on the other side. So I'm just going to quickly clean off these brushes because I'm going to use the exact same brushes that I used on the red side because they worked really good. Really nicely, so I'm going to use those same brushes. So I'm going to start with the Sugarpill blue, and I'm going to pick that up on the flat definer, and we're going to go ahead and line the bottom lash line. I'm going to go back into the Metal Matte palette and go back into Velour. I'm going to pick that up and do the same thing. We're just going to go over the Sugarpill color on the bottom lash line. What I'm also trying to do is get as close to the lash line as possible, and because I don't have eyelashes, sometimes that can be a little difficult because I kind of don't have that barrier to work with, but just get as close as you can. And then I am going to tight line with a black eyeliner pencil because I really don't want there to be almost like a space between the lower lash line and then the inner rim of the eye. So I'm going to grab that Morphe E36 brush again, which is the little fluffy brush. I'm going to go back into Velour in the Kat Von D palette, tap off as much excess as I can, and then start blowing the bottom of this out. I'm going to pick up that Smashbox brush again. I'm going to start with the Sugarpill blue, and then I'm going to start messing up the corner of the eye. Then I'm going to dip back into the Kat Von D palette, and that's Velour, which is the blue. And then start pressing that onto the Sugarpill shade. So I kind of want to get my placement first, and then I'll start kind of smudging that down a bit. Then I'm going to grab the flat definer brush. I'm going to do the same thing on this side that I did on the side with the red, and kind of then make the lines a little bit more prominent, just so that there's a little, you can kind of see that just a bit. But then I'm going to smudge them out. So both of those sides are to my liking because they're supposed to be, again, messy and supposed to come down on the side. So I'm just going to use a black eyeliner pencil to tight line the inner rim of the bottom lash line. So I've zoomed you out just a bit more. I went ahead and applied black liner to my inner bottom rim, and also popped on some false lashes. So we're going to finish off the face now. And what I am going to do is I'm going to jump into my Kiko Milano Smart Blush and Bronzer palette. This is a newer purchase of mine, but it's such a very nice palette. I love this blush, and I didn't want anything too overpowering, so I think that this is perfect. I'm not going to bronze the face only because it's already supposed to be a more pale look. So we're just going to leave it at blush, but I am going to add highlighter to the inner corner of my eye and also a little bit on top of the cheeks. I am going to be using my Makeup Geek Celestial Duochrome highlighter. I wanted something that was going to stand out, so I wanted to pick a Duochrome highlighter. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to go in with my Real Techniques smudge brush, and I am going to take that highlighter and I am going to highlight the inner corners. And I really want it to pop, so I am going to go ahead and put a good amount on there to make sure that you can see it. Then I'm going to take my Morphe M501. I'm just going to dip that into the highlighter and highlight the tops of my cheeks. So next I am going to go in on the lips, and I am going to start out with my Urban Decay Gwen Stefani lip liner in Wonderland. It's a red lip liner, but you can use any lip liner you have as long as it's red. This is just the red one that I have. It's actually the only red one that I have because I don't normally wear red lipstick. But I found one that works for me because everything I've tried has felt so orange and just not right. But I found the right one, and so because of that, I went ahead and bought this lip liner. As you can see, I lined my lips and I also filled them in just a bit. And then I'm going to go in with this NYX cream lipstick in Snow White. Like I said, I could never find a red that worked for my skin tone, but this has been absolute perfection for me. It is so creamy and so beautiful on the lips that I've actually worn it. I bought it specifically for this look, but because I did it last Halloween, but I find myself wearing it sometimes just on regular days. And even though we've applied it pretty neatly, I also wanted to make sure that there was a lot of color, so I really put a lot on there and make sure that it's nice and thick. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab my finger and I'm going to smudge the lipstick down. Then I'm going to apply a little more and do it again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the word rotten on the side of my face because she does have that written on her face in the movie. I'm going to do that off camera because it's going to take a steady hand and some concentration, and then I'll be back. So as you can see, I popped on the heart on the top of my cheek the way she has, and I tried my very best to write the word rotten across the bottom of my face the way she has in the movie. But that pretty much is the tutorial. This is, again, one of those things where you can make it your own, whether you want to go full glam or really go messy and grungy and gritty, put, you know, like fake dirt on your face or make a wound. I know a lot of people do that on the forehead. It is all up to you. Again, cosplay, there are no rules. You wear your costume and your makeup as you see fit. And like I said earlier, I did not put on any like you know, like clown white makeup, although I do have it, and I am using my regular hair, so I decided not to get a wig that's half blue and half red because sometimes they're not the best quality, so I didn't really want to waste my money. And I'm using what I have to make this look my own. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's that it inspires you to try it on yourself or someone else. Please make sure to subscribe before you leave. Also click that little bell so you get alerted as to whenever I upload new content. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, Puddin'.